Ready? All right. John 15, verse 1. I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. Every branch that bears fruit, he purges it, that it may bring forth more fruit. Hold on. I'm pointing the wrong way on this video. There we go. Now you are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you. Abide in me, and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine. No more can you except you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. He that abides in me, and I in him, the same brings forth much fruit. For without me you can do nothing. If a man abides not in me, he is cast forth as a branch, and is withered, and men gather them, and cast them into the fire, and they are burned. If you abide in me, and my words abide in you, you shall ask what you will, and it shall be done unto you. Herein is my Father glorified, that you bear much fruit. So shall you be my disciples. As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Continue you in my love. If you keep my commandments, you shall abide in my love, even as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. These things have I spoken unto you, that my joy might remain in you, and that your joy might be full. So experiencing joy, on the night he was betrayed and arrested, Yeshua went over his coming arrest one last time with the disciples. He had been teaching them and leading them to this point throughout his ministry. But they had failed to get the point. So now before it occurs, Yeshua rehearses for them again the fact that he would be taken away from them. John chapter 13:33, little children, yet a little while I am with you. You shall seek me, and as I said unto the Jews, whither I go, you cannot come. So now I say to you. He told the men that he was going to a place to which they would be unable to follow. And this disturbed them greatly. They said, how could this be? How could it be that the man to whom they had given their lives and for whom they had forsaken all was now going away, and they would not be able to follow him? Yeshua quickly began to put their minds at ease in chapter 14, and as he explained that he was going to be with the Father, and that he would prepare a place there for them, and that in time he would return to get them. But for now, they were to remain behind. Near the close of chapter 14, Yeshua explained that after he was gone, the Holy Spirit would be sent to be with them. He would teach them and lead them and comfort them. Whether the disciples realized it or not, this Holy Spirit would be a greater blessing to them than the actual physical presence of Yeshua, because now he would always be present with them. Wherever and whenever they labored, they would do even greater works than Yeshua had done during his ministry. Truly, truly, I say unto you, he that believes on me, the works that I do shall he do also, and greater works than those, these shall he do, because I go unto my Father. John 14:12. No doubt the disciples were still saddened by the news they were receiving that night. They were hearing Yeshua, but they weren't getting how that after he was gone from among them, they would still go on, and more than that, not be saddened by it. Well, Yeshua had the answer in chapter 15. He uses an ordinary vine. Whether it was a grapevine or some other is not relevant. He used this vine and its branches and fruit to illustrate the only way they were going to know the kind of joy and fulfillment that life can bring with Messiah. In fact, he says in verse 11 that the things he was saying in verse 1 through 10 were said in order that his joy might remain with them and that their joy might be full. And in John 15:11, these things have I spoken unto you, that my joy might remain with you, that your joy might be full. Yahweh's desire has always been and still is today for his children to experience great joy in this life. No doubt all humanity wants the same thing, and certainly the disciples wanted it. But the problem is that Yahweh and man have different ideas about how that is going to be accomplished. See, the disciples' idea of experiencing joy had to do with physically enjoying the presence of Yeshua and having a hands-on religion, a religion of touch and feel and see and know. Theirs was the same idea as that of man today. Religion today is still based on touch and feel and on see and know. It's about what a man can experience and get out of the deal. It's the John 6 kind of religion that is great to have so long as the bellies are being filled, but is forsaken at the first hint of hardship. That's so different than Yahweh's idea of religion. Yahweh doesn't really want religion at all, but rather a life of faith and devotion to him. And if true believers can understand Yahweh's plan for experiencing joy and practice it daily in their lives, then they can and will experience the joy that comes only from above. The joy that satisfies the dry and thirsty soul. Do you want that kind of joy? Is it lacking in your life? You can't produce it, so there's no use trying. The kind of joy for which your soul longs for will only be found in Messiah. According to Paul in Galatians, it is a fruit of the Spirit, something that he works out in your life as you rightly relate to him. So how do you do that? Yahweh doesn't just have joy set aside for certain people. Everyone can experience it, but only when they observe and apply the things Yeshua taught. Let's consider 3 things Yeshua pointed out that will lead your experience in joy the way he intends it. You must understand your place in the scheme of things. In verse 1, Yeshua said, I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. Then in verse 5, he says, I am the vine, you are the branches. And there it is. Father Yahweh is the husbandman. It is he who owns it all and controls it all. Yeshua is the true vine, and we as believers are the branches. What a great truth. Yeshua is the true vine, and we are merely the branches. By making this statement, Yeshua implies that there are other vines, yet he is the true one. If we're going to have life and the kind of life we want in John 14, verse 6, and in John 10, verse 10, then we will only find it in Messiah, the true vine. John 14:6, Yeshua said unto them, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes unto the Father but by me. John 10, verse 10, The thief comes not but to steal and to kill and to destroy. I am come that they might have life, that they might have it more abundantly. People all over the place in false and true churches are attempting to find life outside of Messiah. That is, they are trying every means they have available to them to produce a quality of life that they think will bring them joy and fulfillment. But Yeshua tells us in this passage that we will only find that life, that type of life with him. Yeshua isn't speaking about salvation here. He's addressing people who profess to be saved already. He's telling these saved people how to go about finding life. What are some of the other vines to which people try to connect themselves? Some try to stay connected to popularity for joy and fulfillment. Others try riches and fame. Folks try to find it in marriage or other relationships, in recreation, in work. Most of all, men and women try religion of some flavor. But all at some time or another try different ways. But as Yeshua pointed out, a man can gain the whole world, have everything there is to have, and yet when it's all said and done, he's left with nothing. He's lost his own soul, meaning that he's wasted his life searching for something in the world that only Yeshua Messiah can give. Yeshua made it clear in verse 5 that apart from him, we can do nothing. He's not talking about us not being able to eat or drink or go to work or watch TV. What he's talking about is that there is nothing we can do apart from him that will have any eternal value. Nor is there anything we can do on our own that Yahweh will find acceptable and pleasing. If we are going to get to the Father, then it is going to be through Yeshua. Solomon found this out. He was a man with unlimited resources, a wealth of potential, unparalleled wisdom. And as he searched the world over, and as he attempted a great variety of things to find fulfillment and joy in, he discovered that it was all vanity. It was useless and leaves man just as empty as he was in the beginning. The whole duty of man, he discovered, was to love Yahweh and to put it in the words of Yeshua to be a branch that remains with him. We are branches. That's it. As children of Yahweh, we are not the husbandmen. We are not the vines. Our place in the believer's life is to stay connected to the vine and to allow him to bear fruit through us. That's it. That may not sound too thrilling, but regardless of our personal feelings about our position in life, the reality is that we as believers are completely and utterly dependent upon Yahweh through Yeshua, his Son. Our place in the scheme of things is to be the branches. We are servants, not the master. We are slaves, not the owners. We are the creation, not the creator. You see, Yahweh has rights to every one of our lives because everything there is rightfully belongs to him as the Almighty Creator. But even more than that, he has rights to our lives because he bought and paid for them with the precious blood of his only begotten Son. We are nothing to Yahweh except for offensive, rebellious sinners. And yet, in spite of what we are, Yahweh gave up Yeshua for what we could be. But that's not all. Yahweh has rights to our lives because he is the Creator. And yes, he has rights because he bought and paid for us, but he also has rights to our lives because at some point in time, as believers, we willingly chose to make him the Lord of our lives. We gave him that right. We recognized our place then in salvation, and there was no greater sense of joy and fulfillment to us. Now we must continue to recognize it in our daily living if we are to continue to experience joy from above. Do you remember the first day you were baptized? Do you remember that joy? You became property of the Creator. You accepted the blood of Yeshua. You must submit to Yahweh's pruning work in your life. In John 15, verse 2, every branch in me that bears not fruit, he takes away. And every branch that bears fruit, he purges it, that it may bring forth more fruit. Now you are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you. While the King James the text uses the word purge and clean, the meaning is to prune. Remember that Yeshua is speaking to saved people. He's speaking to us. The lost are not under consideration. So when we read that there are some branches that aren't bearing fruit that will be taken away, John is not talking about Yahweh separating lost people from among the saved. He's talking about removing those branches that are useless and are taking up space, taking up valuable resources that could be better used for those branches that are producing fruit. He says that the branch, the soft, flexible, pliable portion of the vine that does not bear any fruit, he takes it away. It's not just discarded, but it's placed among the other dead branches. I suggest that all of the places that Yeshua can take you, you don't want him to take you to the pile of dead branches. As believers, as children of Yahweh, as men and women in whom the Spirit of Yahweh resides, we ought to want him to take us to heights we've never known. To want him to take us to opportunities we only dreamed of. To take us to areas of ministry we've never seen before. The husbandman, Yahweh, the Father, takes the dead branches away. And those branches are taken away because they are dead. They don't produce any fruit. You can understand that. Yahweh makes perfectly good sense here. Dead branches take up good space. Dead branches don't give praise. Dead branches waste time. Dead branches complain all the time. Dead branches are a stumbling block to someone else. Dead branches gossip all the time. Dead branches talk holy and walk unholy. Dead branches need to be removed, but it's not the job of other branches to do the removing. It's not your job. That's the work of the husbandman. Yahweh will take care of it. Can you understand that? There are branches here that are producing fruit, but even the branches that are bearing fruit experience pruning. The Greek word suggests that Yahweh will clear out or cleanse. He will remove things from the vine that are hindering its good and proper growth and ability to produce more and even better fruit. Every one of us, as Yahweh's children, has things in our lives that hinder our spiritual growth and ability to bear the kind of fruit for which Yahweh is looking for. The writer of Hebrews told his readers to lay aside every weight that hinders them. And when we recognize those things, we ought to lay them aside. But very often we don't recognize the sin in our lives. We have blind spots, in areas of our life that keep us from growing and producing fruit. So Yahweh goes to work and prunes out those things. Yahweh does, not us. I suggest to you that this may be an explanation of what Yahweh is doing in your life. It may not be, but there is the possibility that you lose things. People that are close to you. He may allow you to lose your loved ones. He may allow you to lose your job. He may allow friends to turn their backs on you. He may allow you to lose your health. He may allow you to lose your home. Has any of that touched you in your life? You're not a children. You're old enough to have gone through something that was taken away from you. Whatever distractions are keeping you from serving the Lord, Yahweh says, for his own sake, I've got to prune or clean your branch. But we are being pruned, not for our pain, but that Yahweh would receive glory. When Yahweh gets finished pruning on my life, he will receive the glory. And when he gets finished with me, my life will give him glory. My ways will give him glory. My songs will give him glory. My prayers will give him glory. And my giving will give him glory. And I will experience joy in my life because Yahweh's pruning work like I've never experienced it before. Not because the pruning was pleasant, but because it was necessary in order for me to be more productive for our Master. You must abide with Messiah. John 15, verse 4, abide with me and I with you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide with the vine. No more can you except you abide with me. Have you never planted a garden? You got vines on a tomato plant. Branches, where the tomato goes. If it doesn't produce anything, you take it off and let the plant grow bigger. Abide with Messiah. That sounds real spiritual, but what does it mean? The word abide comes from a word that means to continue, to stay or dwell. Perhaps one of the simplest ways to think about it is just to ask yourself this question. How does a branch get the sap it needs without staying connected to the vine? The answer to that question is the answer to our question of how we are to abide with Messiah. You see, we are to stay connected to Messiah, to stay hooked up with him, to dwell with him, to continue with him. Yeshua mentioned a few things in verses 7 through 10 that will help us. We must allow the words of Yeshua to remain with us. In John 15:7, if you abide with me, and my words abide with you, you shall ask what you will, and it shall be done unto you. In other words, we need to get into Yahweh's word on a continual, regular basis. We need to have a Bible study. We need to be memorizing parts of the Bible, thinking on the teachings of how they apply to our lives. We need to allow Yahweh's word to get into our lives and allow it to influence everything we think or say or do. You hear someone say, this is what the Bible says, and if you read that Bible and you remembered what you read in that Bible, you may say, I don't remember seeing that in the Bible. Then you can ask them, where exactly Is it in the Bible? It is to be a filter through which we view all of life and the standard by which we live. We must maintain an active prayer life. Yeshua mentioned asking what we will of the Father. He's speaking about a habit of prayer, a habit that is all too often lacking in some believers' lives. How in the world can we expect to experience the joys of living, of abiding with Messiah, if we fail to do the simplest of things such as prayer? Believers need to be praying, because people who aren't praying are just playing. We must continue in love for others. In John 15:9, as the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Continue you with my love. Yeshua plainly taught that this was the second greatest commandment, second only to our love for Yahweh the Father, our husbandman. If we are going to experience joy, if we are going to be satisfied in this life, then we are going to have to love people. But it's not a forced love, as in, I don't like them, but I'll have to love them. This is the love that flows from maintaining the right love relationship with our source of love. It's about staying connected to the one who provides us with all of our resources. It is clear that on our own, we lack the capacity to love the unlovable. But in Messiah, we can love all people, regardless of who they are or what they have done. We can only love others as we rightly love Yeshua. Notice, it is the love of people, not the sin that they do. We must be obedient to the word of Yahweh. In John 15:10, if you keep my commandments, you shall abide with my love, even as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide with his love. This may sound like a repeat of the first thing mentioned earlier, but it's not. How often we find believers who can quote the Bible and who know the doctrines of Yahweh's word, yet they struggle in their application of that word. If we are going to experience what good things Yahweh has in store for us, then we need to not only know the word, but also obey the word. We need to do the things we are told to do and not do those things that are forbidden in the scriptures. So what happens when a child of Yahweh refuses to abide with Messiah? What happens when a believer is not bearing fruit in his or her life? That child of Yahweh is of no use in Yahweh's kingdom purposes. He or she has chosen not to abide, not to continue or to stay connected. So they must be cut off and set aside. We think it's tragic that Yahweh would resort to such measures, but we can be sure that this is never his first choice. How patiently Yahweh waits while he invites such a believer to get his act in gear and put himself in a position where he is able to bear fruit. There are always those whose lives can be observed over a period of time, years perhaps, and the question always comes to mind, are they really saved? It's an awful question to have to ask of any professing believer. But the reality is that there are many who are professing, but who are not living it. You may claim to be saved, but it is your life and works, the fruits that you do or don't bear, that ultimately tells the truth about your claim. If people are just living a lie and you know that they have never accepted Yeshua as their Savior, then not only are they not connected to the vine, they are completely unable to be connected unless they do something about it. one needs to recognize that without Yeshua, you are completely lost and unacceptable to Yahweh. Only way you can get to Yahweh the Father is through Yeshua. You have no way to earn his favor or to merit salvation. You stand condemned before a holy and righteous Father. However, if one realizes your lostness, then you can be saved. But one must confess their condition to Messiah and be repentant concerning your sin and be baptized in the name of Yahweh and Yeshua and trust Messiah to save you, and he will. Some of you may have been lacking the kind of joy about which the Bible speaks. This is not a joy that comes and goes with the wind, but is sure and lasting, and so long as you remain connected to the vine through such things as prayer and Bible study. Things such as loving others and being obedient to the word of Yahweh. Have you been connected? Have you been longing for that which you do not have? Has there been something missing in your life because of wrong and hurtful choices? Yahweh wants you to experience a joy that goes beyond our understanding. And the way is clear and not easy. But the choices is yours to make. Yahweh is not going to force you to choose joy, nor is he going to argue with you about the difference it can and will make in your life. He is inviting you to reason with him and know whether you've been connected to the vine and what you are willing to do about it if you are not. Yahweh bless you with the wisdom to choose right. Yahweh bless us.